As Raegyn and Demira Hines will tip things up to begin things this afternoon. And underway here from the Joel, the second all-time meeting between Wake Forest and Gardner-Webb. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. A fifth consecutive home game for Wake Forest, playing a struggling Gardner-Webb outfit as Turcough cuts downhill and leaves it off the mark on the lay-in. So you get your first look at Ashley Hawkins, the preseason Big South Player of the Year, averaging just a touch under 15 a night for the Gardner-Webb Runnin Bulldogs. Gardner-Webb under Scott Merritt still looking to find its footing. Hawkins is the prime talent. Bailey pumps, turned away by Hines. Jordan on the rebound. And this is Tamaya Jones. Step back from mid-range. Off iron. Rebounded by Raegyn, the freshman. Open look. It's time for Blatchford, who's one of the best three-point shooters in the Big South. It's snatched away by Mota Katita. It's a Gardner-Webb team that opens 2-6. They've lost 6 of their last 7. Only one Division I victory to their name. As Raegyn is off the mark on the fadeaway. A sloppy start, still awaiting one of these two teams to break the seal offensively. Bailey committing the tic-tac foul against Tamia Jones. For Wake, opening the year 2-0. It's been alternate losses and wins since. Probably felt they could have done better down the stretch, but a rare defensive lapse cost them. A team that is known for its scoring defense and limiting points, allowing 72 on Wednesday night. As Williams makes her way downhill, can't get the lane to fall, and we are still awaiting the game's first points. An inefficient start for both squads. Hawkins straight down Broadway, and finally one of these two teams on the board. It is the reigning Big South newcomer of the year in Ashley Hawkins. Hines draws 2 and fouled by Raegyn, the freshman. Sends Demira Hines to the line, the fifth-year player. Good to see her back on the floor after she missed the entirety of last season with an injury. Has taken major strides as a scorer this year, just a touch over 8 a game. Decent from the charity stripe as well, and finally, 2.5 minutes in, Wake is on the scoreboard. He's a player who would be 3rd in the ACC in field goal percentage if qualified. He'll knock down both from the stripe to level things up early. A loose pass from Hawkins. It fortuitously hops back to Blatchford. A Southern mistransfer. Some aggressive pressure from Wake on the perimeter. Inside 10 to shoot for Gardner-Webb. Mota Katita loses it. And Turcough pushing the other direction. A sophomore who has enjoyed a sensational breakout to begin her second year with Wake. Pull-up jumper from the top of the key, and it is Madison Jordan who hits Wake's first field goal of the night, the sharpshooting specialist. Player who was just inserted into the starting lineup 2 games ago. Knocks down Wake's first triple of the day. A very three-point oriented offense as Mota Katita, the VCU grad transfer, responds on the other end of the floor. Team's beginning to warm up in the half court. Hines, Jordan, one pump, and finishes through traffic. Mocha Katita. Once again, the Lithuanian finishing over the defender. It's neither team goes particularly deep. A Wake squad that typically plays 9. Gardner-Webb at most in a close game would play 10. There's Tamaya Jones on the kick out. Jordan is off the mark on that corner triple. More confident offensive possessions though for Wake. Mocha Katita can't get the 15-footer to drop. A 1-point advantage for Wake, just under 5 minutes into this one. As Williams' triple is off the side of the rim. And his Wake team, not known for its offensive prowess, gets it done more on the defensive end with the nation's 20th ranked scoring defense. They force a turnover here, and Williams pushing in transition. Jones, now Turkoff. Can't quite get it to bounce off the rim and in. Quite an inefficient start for both teams so far. Wake just 2 of 8. Gardner-Webb, though, hovering around 50% as Raegyn gets her first bucket of the night. Gardner-Webb with an early advantage here. Turkoff looks to respond and does. A knockdown shooter strikes for the first time from deep. Riley Turkoff, known as a sniper, evolving more as a playmaker, but that has always been her bread and butter. Here's Hawkins, rims out. Does Turkoff have another in her back pocket? It's the back iron this time. Clean offensive set so far. Bailey in mid-range, knotting it up at 10 apiece. Warren Bailey, also known for her floor spacing, a rare attempt from inside the arc. Turkoff loses it. Promising start for Gardner-Webb. Bailey baseline, finds Raegyn. Hines picked her pocket. This is Tamia Jones, the SMU grad transfer, who's seen her production rise with each passing season. Entry pass denied by Mota Takita. Blatchford, midi pull-up. It will stay with Gardner-Webb when we come back. Well, back and forth start. Gardner-Webb hanging tough through the bulk of the opening quarter. As things stand, Megan Jebbia's side with work to do. 10-10 in the late stages of the first 10 minutes. We welcome you back to Winston-Salem, all square at 10 in the late stages of the first quarter between Wake Forest and Gardner-Webb. A Wake team under the third-year head coach Raegyn Conley, who has enjoyed ups and downs in her two-year tenure at the helm. Season 1 becoming the winningest first-year head coach in Wake history before a 7-25 campaign in 23-24. There is cause for more optimism despite being picked 17th of 18 teams in the ACC preseason poll. Well, Gardner-Webb making some changes. It is Scott into the game. The freshman is off the mark on the jump shot. Gardner-Webb 5 of its first 11, a Wake team that is just 3 of 10 to begin the day. Some offensive woes that plagued them in spurts this season, re-emerging. In the timeout, Wake making a trio of changes. One of those introductions and more is unable to hit from downtown. If you are just joining us, it's been a knockdown, drag-it-out fight early. Points very hard to come by. Here's the mid-range jumper. Won't go for Martinez, the sophomore forward out of Spain. And Jones will bring it up for the Deacs. Running point with Williams on the bench. Wake going a bit deeper into its reserves than normal. Here's a usual presence in the lineup in Cowles, who gets on the board for the first time tonight. Malaya Cowles, a redshirt junior who was starting earlier in the campaign. It's her third straight appearance off the bench. Wake seesawing back in front with just under 90 to play in this first quarter. Martinez. Conley skips it. Turcoff has baseline and finishes through traffic. Well, there's some of that off-the-bounce shot creation ability Riley Turcoff has displayed in her game this year. A former 4-star recruit getting it done in her second season. Wake with its largest advantage of the day at 4 points. Inside a minute to play. And more changes for both teams. Nyla Walker and Mota Takita entering the action. Wake continuing to delve deeper into its reserves. It's Aurora Srbye, the Norwegian point guard, who will run the offense with just under 40 to play in this first quarter. Srbye's mid-range, she connects. An 8-0 Wake run. And the shot clock now dark for Gardner-Webb. 20 to play in the first quarter. A 16-10 lead for Wake. Walker at the controls. Inside 10 to shoot now. Walker looks like she wants it herself. From mid-range, won't go. There's still 3 to put a shot up. Srbye launches it down the floor, but it won't find anyone in white before the buzzer sounds. An 8-0 run to end the quarter for Wake Forest, and is heavily reliant on the 3-point shot. We're back underway for the start of the second quarter. Gardner-Webb team that opened 5 of its first 10. They've missed their last 5 field goals since. As Raegyn Conley pushes tempo in transition and somehow can't wrestle in the lay-in. The last touch off of Malaya Cowles, the redshirt junior forward. Cowles, someone who is very efficient in the jewel, flirting with 60% from the field at home this season. And they do change the call to keep it with Wake on a baseline inbounds play with 24 on the shot clock. Here's Srbye. Gets into the mid-range, a nice pick and roll, and Cowles the beneficiary onto the board for the first time today. The 6th different Wake Forest scorer already Gardner-Webb now falling victim to a 10-0 Wake spurt. Blatchford kicks. Late in the shot clock again for the Runnin Bulldogs. It is with the do-it-all point guard Hawkins. Not that time. It stays with Gardner-Webb. And a fresh 20 as well. If you're just joining us, Gardner-Webb led this game 10-8 at one point. Have not scored in over 5 minutes now. Shot clock down to 10 for Hawkins. Mota Takita fades away. She's one of the top offensive presences for the Runnin Bulldogs. It doesn't go that time. Here's the look from Conley, the sharpshooter striking from downtown. And that's what she does best. A long-range specialist who has continued to contribute off the bench. Blatchford looks for the answer. No good that time. And Wake opening up their first double-digit advantage of the day. Here's Elise Williams back into the action. Coles draws the additional defender, and she did shuffle her feet. They call a 3 seconds in the end. For Gardner-Webb, an unfortunate offensive lull for Scott Merritt's bunch. And it was implemented a clear spread pick and roll, three-point heavy style for the Runnin Bulldogs. Last season met with a 5-26 finish, a far cry from when in Alex Simmons' final season, the Runnin Bulldogs ran the table in the Big South. Went 21-0 across the regular season and conference slates to earn their second ever trip to the NCAA tournament. Hawkins going off glass. And now Conley looking to push again for the Deacs. And the referee will stop the action as Turcoff was slow to get up. Keep your eye on number 14 in white and gold. Riley Turcoff already tied for the team high with 5 points tonight. Averaging just a touch over 10 after an up and down freshman season that saw her shoot sub 30%. Conley gets another three. The quick pair of triples to stretch the Wake lead out to 14. The answer on the other end from Blatchford. The lid beginning to come off the rim a bit more here. Conley, does she have another? This time it's short. Srbye tracks down the rebound. Coles, a rare triple from her. Still looking to calibrate her range from downtown. Mota Takita. There's her answer from the short corner, and Gardner-Webb back within 10. Srbye off the bounce. And here's Madison Jordan, a long two for her. Hawkins will travel, and it's back to Wake. Okay. Well, an 11-point lead for Wake. Hines spinning in the post for two. A much more efficient second quarter. Wake Forest 5 of 8 here, and doing so at all three levels. Approaching the midway point of the second. Bailey sidestep triple. Won't go. Blatchford tracking down the offensive glass. It's a Wake team that's led by as much as 14 today, and they've spread the wealth admirably. 6 different players have scored. Here's Hawkins, still struggling to get her shot going. Srbye. Rokol on the rebound. Blatchford winning the foot race down the floor. A high degree of difficulty on many of these jumpers from Gardner-Webb. Jordan, again from the short corner. It won't go this time. Inside 5 to play in this first half. Motakateta. Bailey dishing it off for Hawkins. And will earn a foul on her way to the 10. Much needed for Gardner-Webb. And that sends us to another breather. Wake stretched it out to 13, a much more dominant display of offense here in the second quarter. Stick with us on ACC Network Extra as the Demon Deacons look to stretch out the advantage further when we come back. We welcome you back to Winston-Salem, a 13-point Wake Forest advantage over the Runnin Bulldogs of Gardner-Webb as Ashley Hawkins, the reigning Big South newcomer of the year, heads to the free throw line. Do-it-all guard who burst onto the scene when transferring from Cypress College ahead of last season and does pretty much everything offensively. The best playmaker, second best scorer in the Big South. Someone who has now stretched it out to all 3 levels. She'll go 2 of 2 at the stripe that time for Gardner-Webb as they trim the deficit to 11. It's a team that led this game 10-8. Wake has ripped off a 20-7 run since then. Here's Hawkins. still looking to get calibrated offensively. And Bailey skips to the corner for Nyla Walker, who stepped on the sideline. It is a Gardner-Webb program that is in the midst of considerable rebuilding. It explains the shaky record to open the year. When Scott Merritt took over, just one returning rotation player from that Gardner-Webb team that won the Big South regular season and tournament title in 2023. It's been a full reconstruction effort. And someone who has experience building programs, coaching at so many power conference outfits as an assistant. Now getting his first head coaching opportunity at the Division I level. Zamira Hines going to the free throw line for the second time today for the Wake Forest Demon Deacons. Look at Scott Merritt's pedigree at Gardner-Webb. Yes, the wins have been hard to come by, but someone who was a winner as a player, played at Marquette under Tom Crean, and part of that Final Four team with Dwayne Wade in 2003. A key starter during his time with the Golden Eagles, and also helped the women's team achieve plenty of success as an assistant in the late 2010s. Touch foul against Wake, just their second of the quarter. Here's Hawkins. Pulls up for mid-range this time. It's off the back iron. Bailey collecting the rebound. Hawkins today slower by her lofty standards, just one of her first 6. She entered this afternoon on the back of 2 straight 20-plus point displays. Has been the paragon of consistency for Gardner-Webb this year. Here she is going to work on Jones. Crafty move to the tin. Can't get the rim in. She'll hit the glass herself and earn herself an industrious trip to the stripe. Gardner-Webb team that has floundered from the field here in the second, but Hawkins starting to find ways to get herself on the score sheet a bit more. And she'll convert both. Approaching the final 3 minutes of this first half. As things stand, Gardner-Webb at least hanging around, although Wake has spaced it out here in the second quarter. Hines going to work in the middle of the floor. And this is Turcoff. 5 points to her name tonight. A hand check foul against Ellie Blatchford. That's her first of the day. Fresh 20 on the timer for the Deeks. Hines powering inside. Somehow touched every part of the rim except the bottom of the basket. Now Martinez nearly had a 3-point play opportunity, instead forced to settle for free throws. That's her first team foul, number 4. Andrea Martinez, the sophomore out of Barcelona, Spain. Someone who has struggled to open the year, a more perimeter-oriented big. Even off the mark on the first free throw. Someone who played high-level basketball in her native Barcelona, though. Won the U16 Catalonia Championship, which, for those familiar, is the province in which Barcelona is located. She will split the free throws to at least knife the deficit within 10, and if you are Scott Merritt, given how poorly you've shot today, can find your way within single digits by halftime, you'll be overjoyed, especially given the nature of this low-scoring affair. Moore is way short on the wing triple. Here's Blatchford, the fourth leading scorer in the Big South. Has it stripped. Jones pushing tempo, has numbers. Turcoff, 2 dribbles to the 10. Fouled on her way up, but could have been so much more.
That's her first. Team foul number 3.
Sends the sophomore Riley Turcoff to the charity stripe. Tenafly, New Jersey native, who is averaging over 10 points a game this season after a freshman campaign in which she struggled to find her footing, but as a standout recruit, the high school ranks, someone who scored over 2,800 career points at the high school level and averaged over 30 a game as an underclassman. She'll convert both at the stripe to move herself to 7 points on the afternoon. 2 minutes to play in this second quarter, and Blatchford shuffled her feet. Gardner-Webb team that now has not scored a field goal in the last 4.5 minutes. And despite Wake's wobble themselves, they've been unable to knife this into single-digit territory. Moore looks inside to Hines, who draws a trio of defenders. Extra to the corner. It's Jones who's not able to hit. And Hawkins will split the double. Now Turcoff running the break. Has one woman to beat. Somehow can't get the lane to fall, and a frustration foul to follow. Well, that puts Gardner-Webb in the bonus, so free throws for Elza Mota-Takita. Elza Mota-Takita is a grad transfer out of VCU, hardly featured for the Rams. It's more of a rotation piece, but at Gardner-Webb, far more opportunity and is averaging career highs across the board. Still looking to space out her range beyond the arc. That would really open up the driving lanes for the likes of Hawkins and others. And it is Mota-Takita who drops in both from the free throw line. Final minute of action in this first half. Coles responding, and that's Wake's first field goal in nearly 5 minutes. Now stolen away by Williams. Jones kicks to Conley. Short on the three-pointer. Coles cleaning up the mess on the offensive glass. So efficient inside, the 6'3" big. And Wake has matched its largest lead of the day with around 20 to play in the second quarter. A 2-second difference between the shot and game clock. And Mota-Takita is fouled. It's Coles' first.
Wake Forest quarter. Mota-Takita shoots 2.
She'll drop in both. Wake can hold for the final shot of the quarter. Hoping to stretch out a double-digit lead even further. Williams directing traffic, takes it to the cup herself, and no challenge around the rim. And that is where the first half comes to a close. Well, a 14-point lead for Wake. This one off early. Here's Tamia Jones, who kicked to her backcourt mate Williams. Doesn't get the three to drop that time. It's a Gardner-Webb team that finished the first half, going the final 6.5 minutes without a field goal. Went just 2 of 13 in that second quarter. Got the bulk of their points at the charity stripe. Here's Hawkins launching from afar. It is corralled by Rokol, who sat the majority of that second quarter with 2 fouls. Hawkins again this time. No again. It's been that kind of night for her, just 1 of 10. That is not a recipe for winning games if you're Gardner-Webb. Your 2 starting backcourt players really struggling in Blatchford and Hawkins. Inside 10 to shoot for Wake. Hines draws 2. Turcoff is wide open from deep. Can't quite make Gardner-Webb pay. Was a quality look though from the flank. Blatchford hit with a ticky-tack foul. It's Turcoff's second. In that first half, Wake proving reasonably effective. Shot about 42%. Didn't quite space it out from deep, but didn't need to. They punished Gardner-Webb inside. A 16-10 points in the paint advantage. Bailey, crafty pivot move, does everything but drop the lay-in in. Has been the story of the night for Gardner-Webb. Williams through traffic, an easy 2. And starting to pick up the scoring herself. That's her 4th point. Motakatita. Nice looking mid-range J. Now a game high 12 points for the grad transfer. Williams wants the answer. Not that time. And Hawkins was fouled in the fight for the rebound. It's Hines' second of the afternoon. For Gardner-Webb, this is a team that lives and dies by the 3. They've attempted just 4 all afternoon. The question is, can they start to make up some points in a hurry? Hawkins' pass nearly crossed the timeline. It was rescued by Bailey. And here is Hawkins on the mismatch. Step back triple. Hines lost it out of bounds. You've seen the ferocious Wake perimeter defense all day. Bailey, top of the key, won't go. And over the back against Ellie Blatchford, her second. When you look at the numbers for Gardner-Webb, Hawkins and Blatchford combining to average a touch over 26 a game. Today, just 9 points on combined 2 of 16 shooting. Williams off the mark from the top of the key. Jones runs down the rebound. Turcoff steps through traffic. Now Motakatita rushing down the other end. Here's Jordan from the wing. Good looking 3-point stroke. Hawkins, spin move, and finally dropping it in. Much needed from Gardner-Webb star point guard. Approaching the midway point of the third quarter. The lead at 14. That matches Wake's halftime advantage. Jones is open and beats Bailey to the cup. Samia Jones's first field goal of the afternoon. Hawkins going to work, was looking for the whistle that never came. And now numbers on the break. Jordan unattended, and Wake has stretched the lead up to 18, their largest of the day. Timeout, Scott Merritt. Wake beginning to put it on Gardner-Webb, an 18-point lead around the midway point of this third quarter. The Deacs in full control on ACC Network Extra. Winston-Salem, an 18-point advantage for Wake Forest, their largest of the day, as Megan Jebbia's bunch looking to cruise to their 5th victory of the season. It has been an excellent bounce-back display from the loss to Fairfield, the game in which they allowed a season-worst 72 points on Wednesday night. Here today, though, stifling defensively. They've held Gardner-Webb to just 24% shooting. And we've already spoken about the struggles ad nauseum from Ashley Hawkins and Ellie Blatchford, the starting backcourt duo, combining to shoot just 3 of 18 this afternoon. Hawkins getting the bulk of her 8 points from the free throw line. It's Gardner-Webb that gets us back underway. They are in need of a run and in a hurry if they hope to put themselves back within striking distance. Here's their standout Mota Katita. And Coles got tied up with Hawkins on the baseline.
Wake Forest number 5, Malaya Cowles, second personal.
And an offensive foul against Gardner-Webb. Trying to free up Hawkins on the baseline screen, and Srbye sold it well. Well, if you are just joining us, the story offensively for Wake has been even dispersal of the wealth. Not too efficient from deep, just 4 of 18, but 8 of 9 players to feature today have scored. Here's one of those standouts in Williams, and this is Turcoff, who's tied for the team lead with 9 points. Jordan baseline, extra to the top of the key. Offensive rebound for Coles. And a fresh 20 now for Wake. Srbye kicks. The pump from Jordan. And Elise Williams at the end of the shot clock, just unable to turn the corner. It's the back cut from Blatchford. It's blown up by Coles. Gardner-Webb still has yet to crack the 30 threshold in the later stages of this third quarter. A team that has shot just 2 of 9 here this half, and Wake on the other end padding their lead to 20 points. Wake team that is doubling up Gardner-Webb this quarter. Williams on the steal. Turcoff off to the races. Kick to a wide open Jordan for 3. Bailey, mid-range pull-up. She gets it to drop. Lauren Bailey, a slow start to her season, shooting sub 25% on the year, but known for her really pure jump shooting stroke. And she'll knock down her first field goal of the afternoon. Turcoff, a pick and roll with Coles, and Coles steps through, becoming the first Wake player in a double figures with 11. Check that, it's 10 points on 5 of 6 for Malaya Cowles. Uber efficient. Bailey wants the answer and gets it. Lauren Bailey breaking the lid on the rim. If Gardner-Webb could close this quarter in a desirable manner, you figure it could get at least intriguing. Coles is intent on ensuring that doesn't happen. Another bucket for the redshirt junior, who has been unstoppable down low today. Hawkins, Rokel misses the open lay-in. Less than 2 to play in the third. Wake beginning to pull away. Turcoff hacked on the way to the baseline. I'll say it was on the floor. It'll be a baseline inbound. Well, timeout taken. It's a 19-point lead for Wake Forest in full control late in the third. Winston-Salem, the Demon Deacons in confident control of this one, a 19-point advantage in the late stages of this third quarter in the second ever meeting with the Gardner-Webb Runnin Bulldogs. It is a Wake team that has not played Gardner-Webb until today as a D1 outfit. Gardner-Webb was a non-D1 when they first met back in 1980, a comfortable victory for Wake that day in November. It's the first meeting in 44 years, and well, something's not changing. It's been largely dominant since the midway point of this first quarter, holding Gardner-Webb to just 28% shooting and really dispersing the scoring well. It's a welcome bounce back after the Fairfield game Wednesday night in the fifth of a 6-game homestand at the tail end of non-conference play. ACC play beginning in 2 weeks' time for Wake Forest. Srbye out of the timeout. They'll pick out Cowles, who's starting to draw double teams now. Dishes it, and a nice look for Conley to stretch the lead to 21. The largest advantage for Wake Forest today. Great vision from Malaya Cowles. Scott the other direction. Gardner-Webb team that is 4 of 12 here in the third quarter. Scott with the tough finish through traffic. Nice looking bucket for the freshman Kendall Scott. Into the final minute of this third. Turcoff turnarounds off the heel. Bailey started to heat up here in the third with 7 points. Gardner-Webb will not opt to pursue a 2-for-1. Blatchford off the curl. It does stay with Gardner-Webb, and now a fresh 20. So about a 3.5 second difference between the shot and game clock. 3.4 ticks to be precise. If Gardner-Webb plays it right, they can take what effectively would be the final shot of the third. Shot clock is down to 10 for Scott and company. Lost her dribble. Has to put this up. Blatchford 2 to shoot around half court. And a shot clock violation as that possession goes very poorly for the Runnin Bulldogs. Wake with about 2.5 seconds to get a shot up. And Srbye opting to run out the clock to end this third quarter. A 19-point lead that has struggled from the field all night, 27.9% today. As Hawkins tries for the crafty reverse, it ricochets out, and Cowles is first to it. The possession arrow favoring Wake. Well, it has been a monumental day for one Demon Deacon in particular. You see the inbounder Elise Williams logging 4 assists. That puts her in the top 10 in program history in career assists for the 4-year starter. Still about a few hundred points from cracking the top 10 in career points, but given how early it is in the campaign, she has plenty of time to still hit that landmark. Srbye slashing through traffic, the tough finish, and no whistle, so that stretches the lead back out to 21 as Aurora Srbye adds her 4th point of the afternoon. Make that 6 points on 3 of 4 shooting. Raegyn Conley tapped with the block on the other end. Sends Maya Rokel to the charity stripe for her first time. 2 points and 5 rebounds tonight. The reigning Big South Rookie of the Week, named on Monday after averaging 8.5 boards a game in back-to-back contests before the loss against Appalachian State on Wednesday, a game in which Gardner-Webb got off to a great start and then let the Mountaineers light them up from the field the remainder of the way in the final 3 quarters. Held tougher defensively here today. Conley, though, gets an open look, and is Cowles on the offensive glass. Wake team that, for all its dominance, has gone just 4 of 20 from deep this afternoon. Srbye under 10 to shoot. Rebounded by Cowles, who puts it up and in. Now leads all scorers with 14. Hawkins. A rocky day by her lofty standards. Bailey gets another 3 to go, though. In double figures with 10, the second Gardner-Webb player to crack that threshold. It would take a Herculean run, but Gardner-Webb doing well not to get run out of the building just yet. Wake has kept them at an arm's length throughout the entirety of this game. And it's been a gradual inflation of this advantage. Cowles a less deep catch than she'd prefer. Here's Williams. 5 to shoot. Has to force it up. It's off the side of the backboard, and the shot clock sounds before Moore can get the look up there. Time is rapidly waning on Gardner-Webb. Here's Bailey, another triple. This time nothing but air. An open look for Blatchford now. She splashes it in. And just like that, the lead whittled down to 15 with around 7 to play. Srbye swings to Conley, unable to procure the response. 6 unanswered now for Gardner-Webb. Rokel had it deflected by Williams. That'll bring Jordan back in the game as Raegyn Conley forced to tap back into some of the starters. Gardner-Webb team that has knocked down a pair of 3-point looks to double their makes for the game in the first 3 minutes of this fourth quarter. Blatchford from mid-range now, hits it. 8-0 run by Gardner-Webb. Perhaps some tension mounting for the hosts. Shot clock under 10 for Williams. Deep catch for Cowles now, and she's fouled on the entry pass. Instead, 3 seconds actually. It's going back to Gardner-Webb. So Malaya Cowles, a surefire 2 wiped off the board by the 3-second call. Gardner-Webb quietly knifing this down to a 13-point game. Wake is led by as many as 21. Blatchford has been the engineer of this spurt. And a trip to the stripe beckoning. Emily Blatchford, very slow start to the day. Just has 8 points on 3 of 9 shooting. But 5 of those have come in this quarter alone. And now the Southern Miss transfer, a chance to enter double figures. for the 5th consecutive game with a pair of made free throws. Someone who entered the day averaging 12 points a game, was 22 of her previous 43, north of 50% from the field in the last 4 games and change. But is unable to knock both in at the stripe. 12-point lead for Wake. 9 unanswered though for Gardner-Webb. Here's the pump. Williams ran into trouble. Srbye open at the top of the key. A big-time 3 to stem the tide. Aurora Srbye, the freshman, with her first triple at a major moment. Bailey looking for the answer. Won't go. And Rokel overzealous in the fight for the rebound. And you wonder if that was Gardner-Webb's best shot. A huge 3 from Aurora Srbye. Jones ran into trouble. It spaces the lead back to 15. Tamia Jones. There's Conley. Shot clock down to 10 for Srbye. Conley's wide open. Rims out. Inside 5 to play here at the Joel. Does Gardner-Webb have one more spurt left in them? Motaketita is blocked by Hines. Conley looks to take it herself. Gets her own rebound and earns a pair of free throws to come with it. Well, Gardner-Webb threw a haymaker at Wake, but they've spaced it back out to 15 and some free throws when we return. The Deeks still in full control, but with work to do to see this one out in the end. Stick with us on ACC Network Extra. Back here in Winston-Salem, a 15-point lead for Wake Forest with just under 4.5 remaining in this second ever battle with Gardner-Webb. Gardner-Webb knifed it down to 12 at one point with a 9-0 run, but Aurora Srbye knocking down a big triple around the 5-minute mark, and Wake starting to reestablish control. Look inside here to Jordan, the 6'1" wing. Conley kicks. Srbye in the corner has another three. And is that the final blow for Wake? 12 points now on the night for Aurora Srbye, the freshman, hitting her career high. Motakatita loses her handle and launched ahead to Conley, who ran out of real estate near the baseline. Also, Motakatita was still left on the ground. Never got back on that possession. Looks okay to continue, though. Blatchford. Whistle sounds against Hines. It's her third. And instead they'll tack it on Jordan. So that's her second. Has not been Hawkins' afternoon. Blatchford's gotten going in the fourth. She leaves that short. And Srbye running ahead of the pack. Second on this Wake team with 12 points. Wake will be in no rush to launch early in the shot clock here. They'll be content to run down the timer. Hines inside. Not enough mustard on the lay-in. Katita loses it. Ricochets out to Hawkins. Bailey's open. Altered by Jordan. Conley is clipped by Blatchford. Well, a positive momentum builder for Wake. We mentioned the frustrations that came against Fairfield. For Gardner-Webb, on the other hand, it will be their 7th loss in the last 8. Only one Division I victory came in the season opener against new D1 outfit University of West Georgia. Their only win in the last 8 games. As you see Jones turn it over, not on the same wavelength as Jordan, came against Johnson C. Smith. So they'll have work to do as they gear up for another 2 road games against Western Carolina on Friday and then an 11-day break before heading to Hampton on the 17th. For Wake, it's a bit busier. They play Campbell on Wednesday to finish out the homestand before traveling to Queens next Sunday to play St. John's. As Motakatita is off the mark. Then Wake begins ACC play on December 15th when they take on Clemson at the Joel. The team also in the midst of a new era. Nice spin from Hines to extend the lead back to 20. It is a Wake team picked just 17th of 18 ACC teams in the preseason poll. Of course, the ACC adding SMU, Cal, and Stanford in the offseason. Rocol gets the lay-in to drop after the crafty feed from Hawkins. Jones is a bit shaken up after the fact. Still seems to be a year in which Wake will make progress. They're already on the precipice of their best start since the 21-22 season when they started 7-0. It would be Megan Jebbia's best start as a head coach as well. As Wake looks to notch their first 500 record under her tutelage in year 3. Back cut from Conley, and she's hacked by Rocol, her 4th.
The Runnin Bulldogs foul. Starts at 14, Malaya Cowles. That's our 4th. Team sport.
Well, it seems all academic now for Wake. There was the slight scare in the opening stages of the fourth, but since then, a pair of triples by Aurora Srbye stabilizing the ship. And barring a colossal collapse, Wake is on its way to its best start under Raegyn Conley. Conley will split the pair of free throws. Time for about one or two more Gardner-Webb possessions. Here's Hawkins. Step back, rims out, reminiscent of her day as Raegyn cleans up the mess. Hawkins 2 of 15. And the open triple goes for Wake. It's Raegyn Conley once again. Conley becomes the third Demon Deacon player in double figures. Cowles with 14 and then Srbye and Conley with 12 apiece. Only 2 Gardner-Webb players have cracked that threshold. Hawkins not one of them. Srbye wants one more. Give her a hat trick of threes. A game-high 15 to round out the day for the freshman Srbye. Now just a 2-second difference between the shot and game clock. Motakatita is short. Raegyn wrestling for the offensive rebound. The arrow still favors Gardner-Webb. It is all signed, sealed, and delivered at this point for Wake. One final look for Blatchford. She'll drop it in for another bucket here in the fourth, but that is as far as Gardner-Webb's offensive push will come in this quarter. Wake will run out the clock, and that seals it. The best start under Raegyn Conley, and Wake Forest 5-3 on the campaign in a dominant victory over Gardner-Webb. The Deacs bouncing back from Wednesday night ahead of their